Hello there, welcome to lesson number 8 in our series on using FluidDesigner for 3D printing to create pendants. In today's lesson we're going to show you how you can use the Skin Modifier function in FluidDesigner to create a simple bracelet. So if you start up FluidDesigner, you need to first of all go to Learning Projects, Jewellery Projects, Pendants, and we're doing lesson number 8, so you identify the object 08 Skin Modifier Pendant. If you just drag and drop that onto the workspace, I'll just switch on the screencast keys to be displayed there, and I'll just move that panel out of the way slightly. So here's our object at the moment, and we've got some values here. X dimensions, so in other words the length of this is 52 millimeters, and then we've got Y and Z values of 4 millimeters. Well, what do they refer to? Well, first of all, if we just go over here, and if we just click Group Library to refresh this panel, and if you go to 3D templates, you will find there is an option 3D template skin modifiers, and these are template files which we've pre-built for you, which are all similar to this one here. What the difference between them is that 01 skin modifier has got a 1 millimeter cross section. 02 has got a 2 millimeter cross section, then there's a 3 and a 4 millimeter cross section, and the object that we're using in this lesson is in fact the same as this object here. It's got a 4 millimeter cross section. So if you ever want to use any of these skin modifiers and you just want different cross sections, you can just drag and drop these objects onto the workspace. So how can we confirm this cross-sectional value? Well, if we just zoom in, eventually you'll get into millimeters. And you can see here that if we look at the distance from here to the top, it's actually 2 millimeters, and here to the bottom is also 2 millimeters. So in other words, this height is 4 millimeters, and if we just move the object around, you can see it's more or less, well, it's a square cross section, this object. So if I just go back to view in front again. Now if we go into edit mode by pressing the tab key on the keyboard, this transform panel is where you can actually identify the radius X and the radius Y. So the radius is 2 millimeters up, 2 millimeters down, which gives you a total cross section of 4. Now you can just change these values in this panel yourself, but as I've just said, we've created some template files for you where you can just drag and drop objects onto the workspace with predefined sizes. But you can change these to any value that you actually want. Okay, now to work through this particular lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, we need to be working in the centimeters grid. We don't want to be any finer than that. And I need to come out of edit mode, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a circle here, a 50 millimeter radius circle, or in other words 10 centimeters across, and I'm going to use that circle to create my pendant and make sure that it's uniform in size. So this is it's not an object we're going to print, this circle, it's just to use as an outline. So if we go to add mesh and circle, okay, we can't see very much there because it's drawn quite a small circle, just 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters. Now we want a radius of 50 millimeters, in other words we want a diameter of 100 millimeters. So if we change X to 100 mm and Y to 100 mm, we can't see the circle at the moment because I'm viewing it from the front, so yeah, my circle is drawn there, look. So what I need to do is I just need to change my view from front to view it from the top. Okay, so I'm only using this circle to create my pendant. I'm going to create it within this circle. Now, I now need to highlight the skin modifier. And no, the circle's still highlighted according to this, so I need to make sure I get the skin modifier. Can I get it? Yeah, there it is. So view from the top again. So the skin modifier is highlighted at the moment. And what I need to do is to press the tab key to go into edit mode. And as you can see, this end of the skin modifier is currently highlighted, and what I want to do is to work my way around this object to create just a simple pendant. And in order to manipulate this object, what we want to do is to use the extrude command. So with this node highlighted, we call the end of the skin modifier a node. If we press E on the keyboard, we can extrude it. Now I want to draw a symmetrical pendant, so I really want it to go to exactly a point there. So if I just press the escape key to cancel that at the moment and just press tab to come out of edit mode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch on the snap feature. Snap during transformation. And I'm going to set the snap to increments. So I'm going to snap to increments of the grid. So again, with the skin modifier highlighted, if I go back into edit mode with the tab key on the keyboard, if I now press E to extrude, oh, it's being funny. Why is it doing that? Okay, let me just highlight it again. E to extrude, that's better. You can see now I can only extrude it to particular points on the grid, centimetre points on the grid. I'm working in centimetres, so I can only snap to points on the grid, and that's really useful because I want to snap exactly to that point there. And then I want to extrude again, so E to extrude, and I want to extrude it exactly to that point at the bottom of the circle. And I'm going to keep repeating this, E to extrude, and I want to go back to the start point again. So click the mouse to select that point. E to extrude, and go to the point at the top of the circle now. And then E to extrude and go back down to the left-hand corner, the left-hand side of the circle there. Okay, so that's just the pendant. All I want to do to create this particular pendant. So I now need to come out of edit mode. So I press the tab key on the keyboard to come out of edit mode. So there's the object that I've created using this skin modifier. And if I just zoom in on this, and if I go back into edit mode again, you can't see anything there other than the control points. But what I want to do is I want to confirm this shape now. So I'm going to come out of edit mode, and to confirm this particular shape, and we don't want to change it anymore, as is usual in FluidDesigner, what we want to do is go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. This will apply the skin modifier, because the skin modifier is in fact applied here for you by default when you start up this this lesson. So a modifier, a skin modifier, was added to the workspace right at the very beginning for you. And to apply any modifier, you've always got to go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh. And you'll see that the modifier now disappears. And we won't anymore be able to select the control points. But if we press the tab key and zoom in, we'll see what the skin modifier has actually done. It's actually created this object as a lot of individual sections, a little bit like the skin of, say, a snake, something like that. So the object itself, now we've converted it to a mesh, is made up of all of these individual sections. Now we can edit those individual sections. I could drag that point out there, for example. I don't want to. I'm just illustrating what you can do. So you can modify all the different points around this object now. What you can't do is to extrude individual points like we were doing as the skin modifier. You can extrude faces, and you can extrude points like this, but not in the same way as you were doing in edit mode as the skin modifier. So we want to press the tab key to come out of edit mode there now. Now this object is a square in shape, and we could print it like that. But we could also apply another modifier and round off this object. So if we go to the modifiers icon and click add modifier, the modifier I'm going to add now is called the SubSurf modifier. SubSurf modifier. And if we zoom in, the square cross section has just been rounded off a little bit at the moment using the SubSurf modifier. And the way to improve this and make it even more round is to click on this option here to change the number of subdivisions. And I'll just zoom in a little bit further, and you'll see that the number of subdivisions around this object here has increased. And if we do it a second time and go to subdivisions view 3, we've actually changed from a square cross section to a more rounded cross section. I'll just delete that SubSurf modifier and go back to the original object. So you can see here we've got a square cross section. If we apply the SubSurf modifier and change the value to 3 here, you see we get a much more rounded object. Now, one of the disadvantages of this is that the file size goes up quite considerably when you apply SubSurf modifiers. But that's what I'm going to create in this lesson. Now again, we've got to apply the modifier, so we must always go to Tools, Object Tools, and convert it to a mesh when we're happy with it. And there's my finished pendant now, which is sort of rounded off in shape. So if I go to File and Save As, we're going to save 08, the Skin Modifier pendant, but remember we've got to save it, we've got to go up the folder system and save it in My Projects, Jewellery Projects Pendants. So we're going to save 08, the Skin Modifier pendant, into your folder on the system. Now we can't print Blender files, which is what we've just saved, so we need to export this in a suitable printable format. So if we go to File and Export, and export it as a wavefront object, and we like to export it to the desktop. So we export 06 Skin Modifier Pendant to the desktop. Now that took a few seconds to do because the file size is probably quite large with this, with the SubSurf modifier that we've applied. So we now need to go to NetFab Basic and to inspect this and make any corrections to the file. So if we go to Open and go to the desktop, we want to open 08 Skin Modifier Pendant, and yeah, we have got a warning red triangle which tells me that there are some issues with this object. Okay, and you can probably see that there are some irregularities here at the corners. So the Skin Modifier doesn't work perfectly. You do need to sort of play around a little bit more than I have done to get a very smooth shape, but I'm just showing you the principles of using the Skin Modifier here. So if we go to Extras and Repair the Part, you'll see that NetFab is saying there are some issues here. And if we just move the window across and click Update, so there are 6 holes and 100 border edge problems. But NetFab should sort this out. So if we run the automatic repair and execute it, and click Update, yeah, it's sorted out those problems. So if we click Apply, Repair, and remove the old part, our warning red triangle is gone now. So here's our finished object. There are some issues with this, as you can see. It's not a perfect shape, even though it is quite simple. Okay, but it's just the principle of using this Skin Modifier that we're interested in. So we now need to save that. So if we go to Part, export the part as a wavefront object, we can export it to the desktop, and as usual with NetFab Basic, it adds the little bit of text repaired there. So that's the file that is printable now. Okay, and it's come up with some more problems. Again, this is just how FluidDesigner works. We have got some manifold edge problems here, and quite a few, 128, but the thing to do here is to click the Optimize button, and sure enough, NetFab's fixed that problem now. I don't quite understand why it does repairs and then does repairs a second time, but that is how NetFab works. So we can now export that one, and that file is now in a printable file format. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of this lesson on using the Skin Modifier to create pendants. Thank you.